Honorable Otto Self. Honorable Otto Self did not enter roll call. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. answered roll call. Honorable Edison Juanita. Honorable Edison Juanita answered roll call. Honorable Edmund Yazzie. Honorable Edmund Yazzie. Honorable Edmund Yazzie did not answer roll call. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair answered roll call. Going back up. Honorable Amber Knez-Zacati. Honorable Amber Knez-Zacati answered roll call. Honorable Otto Self. Honorable Otto Self. Honorable Otto Self did not answer roll call. Honorable Edmund Yazzie.
Here, via phone.
Honorable Edmund Yazzie answered roll call. With that, Honorable Speaker, you have 20, Honorable Charlene So is excused. With that, Honorable Speaker, you have 21 delegates that have answered roll call. 22 including yourself.
Thank you. At 3:33, we have 22 members here. Thank you very much for that roll call. With that, colleagues, just going to recap. We are on legislation 0257-21, and this legislation sponsored by myself. It's being presented by Honorable Freeland, and it's also co-sponsored by Honorable Halana. With that, we do have a motion, second. We are on an amendment. Amendment number 2, motion by Madam Chair Naabik'íyáti, second by Honorable Rich James. There was a request to go into recess. We just came out of recess. So let me go back to the floor. Honorable Elmer Brigade, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Speaker Down, other members of the Naabik'íyáti committee, other staff that are here with us. The sponsor of the amendment, Shadeja, I think all the NTA is not here and IHS, but maybe I can just ask Carl. I know that your amendment, looking at the listings of water line and mostly water line out in the area of southwest part of the reservation, in the area there's no water. The water that we get from White Cone, Rounds, Dog Cone, Tisto, it's all from cornfield and Granada, and then as far as Greasewood, getting water from there. So from here to another 50 more years, the one that's being proposed is from a loop that Little Colorado River, that the sea aquifer is the only water source that we're looking at for the next 100 years. And with that said, that the only consultant that we have is the Browns and Coswell, from the engineer from Salt Lake City. they're the one that's giving us the whole hydrologist and the hydraulic information that we're getting from them. So with this, Zach wanted to know that this water that we're talking about again, I wanted to know that if right now the water that we have, it's only for housing and residential. It's not even for commercial. But we have one out we're trying to develop is the hospital. So there's not enough water, but as far as we know that there's a lot of people that are on that technical team to working on this water. They write grants, and that's how we're getting this water developed through their grants and according to the people. There's no water here for the future. So we're getting this. So I was thinking about is strategic. One thing that I wanted to ask is I think somewhere in your amendment, is there a room to ask for a continuum of we need a technical team, some the water part of it. We need them to be part of it. What is best for the Navajo people? In my area, right now, we can come up with a lot of them. Just like how Navajo Nation does, they just go through the survey. This is how much we need for the whole Navajo Nation water. But when we put it into priority, what is best for this to do that? So I think that's where we need a technical team. And right now, we can put as many system tanks in the area. Right now, that's what we're doing right now. We have deep that's providing rural. They're installing system tanks for these people, but they don't have water to get water or proper water to take it to these people. We haven't resolved that water part of it yet. When we go to MTA, it's limited. When you can get out of that water point. For example, they're still in that drought. I don't know how many times I've been telling MTA, we're still restricted under drought this summer, or this winter. We're still, if you go over there right now, if I go over there, because I still have water, I don't have no running water. When you go over there, so getting this water out of this water point, it's just such you out. You're limited for 2,000 gallons, that's it. You cannot go exceed that. It's just such you out. Or right now, other people are doing is they start doubling the amount, like the cost of it. They're doing that. So right now, that's we can. The chapter, once they get the water to these people out in the remote areas, and our couldn't shut them off. So we don't have no running, there's no water that we could get from a cold. So I'm really thinking about who can we work with. NTA is the only one that's the bottom line is that they're the one that can say it's okay to have this kind of projects because they're going to be the O&M part of it. I would tear that go down. So I think that it's really, I don't know who we will work with because Navajo Nation team, they just rely on, just like I said, the whole water system for about 100 more years from here is the consultant that we have is from Salt Lake City, Browns and Coswell. They're the only one that's doing this. With the IHS 80 grants and conduct through the Navajo Nation. That's how we're getting this development in our area. I call from our own Navajo Nation team, to be on the front line to do grants and to do all the statistic studies. And it would so David, I wanted to know that how we could put that in protocol. That's your amendment is. I'm not sure if it's in there regarding that we need technical team in the Navajo Nation. If we're going to be getting this funding to the chapters, we need people that can work with us. We can just get them on the line. If we're having a meeting, we can get them on the line and talk to us. We're having a meeting here, Greg. What kind of those kind of people? Yeah, we need those kind of people to be available to us to the chapters. The chapter is still part of that this grant business in Naabik'íyáti. Or another way of doing this is there's $130 million that is already allocated for all these programs. And in there they have consultants and AD or is there speaker who can we ask if we can do a limit to that, where we can maybe that $130 million that is set within that ARPA funding to get that from their administrative costs to the local chapters that are certified. So we can hire our own, the chapter can hire their own consultants working with them. And this is how it is. We don't have to depend on Navajo Nation's consultant. We can work, the chapter can work, have its own consultant. And is there, how can we go about it? Can that happen? But with my question, speaker, I don't know who to ask her.
Very much. Question on that and going down to Mr. Walker. On amendment number 2.
Yeah, Speaker Damon, for allowing me to speak here to the Naabik'íyáti committee, our colleagues, our leadership, in attendance here with us this afternoon, yesterday and today, and this afternoon we have people in attendance here, and those that are online. Of course, our people and those that are paying close attention to the discussion here, that's very much appreciated. And I see earlier I saw some chapter leaders. One of my chapter officials just walked in earlier. I just wanted to real quickly acknowledge him, Charlie Smith from Cameron. He's our chapter president at Charlie. He's in. So he want to get Mr. Smith. Okay. Issue the door, Speaker, members of the committee, although speaking to the amendment, for putting the amendment together, working on that, all the analysis of that, crunching the numbers and thinking through what the needs of the people are through this amendment, addressing those needs in a fair, equitable way. I think those are your intentions and those are your words, and that's appreciated. So observing, listening to leadership here last evening and today, Therefore, I think we're looking at the legislation itself and the amendments. And certainly hoping, wishing, praying for some kind of fair and equitable way to tie this huge opportunity, huge financial resource. And then the challenges in doing that. We all know land size, land mass, population, all those are factors. It's difficult to factor that in and say, okay, here's a good amount of money, here's fair, equitable, equality for you. As we talk to our communities, in words, maybe in effort, maybe we think that way, but in reality, it is going to be a challenge. I think that those are my thoughts this afternoon, Ajahn. I just want to speak. Like many of you share your concerns and give examples of the needs, give examples of situations that are in your communities, the communities, chapters that you represent. We are in Arizona. As you go out, you take a walk eastward, you're beyond the juniper trees, and there are really, really nice canyons. But you'll notice we are on top of a rocky area, rocky terrain, very, very rocky. Okay, so the community members that live near here, this is where they chose to live. This is where they're gonna always live. To serve them with infrastructure, to develop infrastructure in this area is challenging. I'm not going to say next to impossible, because a lot of things are possible. With money, a lot of things are possible. Large amounts of money, a lot of things are possible. We've been always told by Navajo Nation or NTUA or IHS about the barriers that exist, like the rocky terrain, either the isolation factors or the population densities. We're always told because of this we can't bring you water. Okay, now we have this opportunity to fund it. IHS, they're still here. But I want to listen to them explain what it means also. I know IHS and their funding that they received from the America Rescue Plan Act aided to develop water infrastructure, drinking water, safe drinking water, to aid the Navajo Nation. And I hear the word support. So those are interests, very, very curious exactly what that means. Over here on the Navajo side, the opportunity that we have through legislation 2.7, and then this amendment, to kind of reconfigure how our communities need to be, how they can be funded. That's where we are. And just wanted to mention the community, how difficult it is to bring services out here. At the end of the day, you can say it's pretty difficult. So we're talking about the quality of life of people. So challenging and difficult to improve, that tackle with water and conveniences and infrastructures, not only water lines, power lines, and then roads, just have trails out there, and very, very thick 10-ply tires on pickup trucks. That's what is needed out here. So I think Gray Mountain, Cameron, Arizona, same region, same type of terrain exists. The cost to develop infrastructure, water line, roads is quite high. So unlike some of the other communities where they're sandy or even floodplain areas. So with that, thank you. I know the ARPA funding and the amendments that we talk about many challenges that we need to address. So comments, and of course you all know I represent Cameron and Loop. We are in Loop, Arizona. Although Bird Springs is not too far from here, Tulani Lake to the north, although coal mine, though Cameron. So my community members, our states, our leaders, representatives, those represented them to speak to their needs. I thought I'd take this afternoon to just mention that here's our situation and how that plays into these discussions and considerations. Well, I'm leaning towards the amendment because that amount of money for each region, it's there. I I think our people, our community members, our local leaders, they're gonna say you need to go for a higher amount. But no one's gonna say, well, go for the lower amount, unless there's extraordinary considerations or advantages there. Money isn't everything, but money can do a lot. Again, although my colleagues, I know the decision we have to make here today and tomorrow, and pretty soon, council meeting, council level. Although our leader, the president, and vice president, they have their work cut out for them. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to say a few words here. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Let me go now on to Honorable Stewart. Honorable Stewart,
Proceeding to the chair. Auto colleagues, afternoon, I was with the sheriff, brother. Speaker, in response to my thoughts and this amendment, number 2, and what has been discussed so far, goes back to what my community members have stated out there, and also the chapter leadership that I represent. Out on the legislation itself, it states in there, that pursuant to section 9901 of ARPA, the 3-4 areas, negative economic impacts, the physical recovery, funding, community members, business that mom and pop shop, the gas station, businesses that we have theaters and whatnot in different parts of the nation, communities that, and the artisans it's supposed to be used towards them. The assistance with households. So a chapters then DCD then as what for the housing discretionary funds for the travel tourism, tourism, they were impacted by quite a bit, over 60% that they were impacted for the past 2 years. It was behind so many thousands, millions of dollars. We have as RDC committee, we hear from these artisans are out there, that we're out there on a daily basis, selling their crafts to tourists on a yearly basis. Delegate Freeland, the impacts that are affected on our employees, not only those, the first responders, but those that are at the chapter as well. The Hita out there working with our community members, making sure that they are well taken care of, that we try to make sure that they are safe at home. For the past 2 years, at the end, some community members, like I stated yesterday, they're still suffering from that. So I don't the depression that we're going through, anxiety, and then there are counselors out there too that are on their phones with their patients, their clientele, that kind to console them, all those families that have lost loved ones, that the emergency health needs, that all these were impacted. Through this amendment, the one thing I worry about, my community members and my leadership have asked too, is accountability. Look at chapters that are sanctioned. So could our research that you see out on the corner, so navigation government here, so we have shortfall of staff, so they don't want to apply for employment. We're not meeting the employment standards. So we're saying that we want to use this amendment to go back to delegate region. When I think about it, 23rd, the 23rd, they were each given so many millions or so. When we first came in, the first 3 years, cap 3818, changing those funding to go elsewhere, or revising those plans. When you look at the CPMD criteria, they have the areas that are defined for them. You have your project ready criteria, and then you have different areas are in there, like your construction ready and also your shovel ready project. Chapters in there, they develop the plans. What are we going to do? Overhead for us as delegates. Federal funding at us, Washington, there's going to be audits. DOJ will write a letter for us as delegates to say, and then the reason why I'm saying overhead, we would have to make sure that we have a staff or two to make sure that those projects are they're on the same level for each of these chapters that we represent, to push those officials, to push those chapter staff, to make sure that they're on target. We have less than 2 years now with this funding. The costs are going up. Obviously, the cost on materials are increasing. We as delegates of our Navajo Nation government, that we haven't changed our policies. We still have to abide by those policies and procedures that are set forth by the previous delegates. Following the procurement processes. And this is things in areas that I think about, because of the AIF funding. It took us RDC 1 whole year with the help of DCD to really push from their department, their division, to develop the policy, the documents, to say this is how the chapters or community members will receive these funding. Local empowerment, there's no local empowerment. It's really hard to push funding. How do you spend those monies the way they're supposed to be spent? I don't know, if we go to the chapters and we give these fundings to the chapters, those chapters that are sanctioned, they're still going to be imposed, if I'm not mistaken, they're still going to be imposed, their sanction fees. 10, 15% of fishing, that's how much they're going to be imposed again. They won't get the full funding. Auto, Naabik'íyáti, you know, there's the opportunities that we need to give to our small businesses to either grow, to develop, and to become stable. We're concentrating on N2A, we're concentrating on NECA, we're concentrating on the construction companies that are out there, but what about the small ones that are trying to get developed? Those individuals that probably work for N2A, that probably work for NECA, that want and that have gained the experience to start their own business. They want that opportunity to do that with this funding. But yet we're concentrating on these big businesses. Where are there equal opportunities for them as well to employ Navajos? It was reported to RDC that there's an entity that wasn't doing that, wasn't following those policies to follow Navajo Nation employment policies, opportunities. What are we going to do? How are we going to enforce those as well too, to make sure that these fundings are going to be used in that way? And then how are we going to be accountable for it if we go with either one of these amendments? Those are just some areas of concern that I have, and not really looking for any answer, but right now, but just to raise my concerns. If they get answers, then yeah, I'll accept the answers. But you know, these are just areas that I wanted to express, Chairman, out on the colleagues. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Stewart. With that, let me go back to the Madam Chair. Cardi, if there's any response at this time. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Speaker, colleagues, I appreciate the insight and some of the recommendations. I think in my list as a nation and how our council can increase or maximize the needs assessment of all of our communities. And I think in terms of the infrastructure cost, the amount of the population and how that increases the cost of the school. Vice Chair Walker, I will never forget riding in the school bus from Winslow to your school in Bird Springs. With our appropriation from Congress, we had the House of Representatives Appropriation Committee come down, and we were all in a school bus, and we experienced what our children experienced trying to get to school. The roughness of the roads, how long it took to get there, and how long it took to get back. So I'm really proud of those moments, because that is the silver lining in how we work together and advocate for each other. Because now you're celebrating a beautiful new school. And I think those are the moments as delegates that we can not only advocate for our regions, but help and support one another. We were teasing each other last night on how our connections with each other through relatives, through our parents, and how in the reality, how closely connected all of our Navajo families are. So I appreciate you bringing that back into the discussion. And I'm forever indebted also when we went to visit in Delegate Paul Begay's area and looking at the families who had suffered under Bennett Freeze. And to have 7 members of a family living in a 4x10 shed, and how they told us as a committee that they were never given the opportunity to fix and to be able to provide for their children and what they envisioned for their families. And I think that's when it's so beautiful when we say a prayer as we have these discussions, because those prayers expand beyond chapter boundaries, chapter service areas. And that's how I think we should come to this funding, is what can we do for one another? It's not the perfect way, because all of these areas need to be assessed. But I do know our enterprises also hold the key for leadership. During the COVID, I was able to go over to Navajo Housing Authority, and they have a system, a GIS system for every nook and cranny of Navajo Nation. And they can help in coordinating with NQA, with all of our different enterprises, all of our different programs, so that all of us as leaders can have access to that information. Can have access to know what is the demographics of our population, where our children are going to school, how far our constituents are traveling to work. And so we have an opportunity here to solve part of that. And so I really appreciate those words, Vice Chair Walker and Delegate Stewart, in also advocating and bringing up some of the internal issues that we have, the internal structures and how we keep funding within the requirements in terms of transparency and accountability. And I love the statement when you said, how do we reach our small business owners? How do we reach them? And that's why we supported the Department of Economic Development. It looked like they were going to partner with Change Labs. And so we've reached out to them to say, how can we support our Navajo entrepreneurs? And they have a lot of amazing ideas. And my district supports their proposal because they've been able to help and provide guidance. And I think they need to help with the capacity of our small businesses. And that would be the goal. How much of this money what would be our goal as delegates to, what would be our commitment to small Navajo businesses? And I think we can do that collectively. So Shania Elmer Brigade, in terms of how your chapters were involved, it's apparent that wasn't consistent, but I think this is an opportunity for you to continue to have conversations, not only on projects that were proposed, but looking at your listing of projects. And what we wanted is an opportunity to empower. So if there's other areas that are in your district's priorities working together, that is the true intent of this legislation. So Speaker, that's what I heard. I just really appreciate the dialogue. I think I'm such a curious person by nature, and I like to see data in different ways. And I know we're very visual, and so I would continue to ask that this information continue to be presented in a visual manner. I don't necessarily need paper, but even if it's digital, we could even work on visually how these would support the communities. And that's what I tried to do in this rough visualization of the opportunity of the amendment. So thank you, Speaker, and my colleagues for asking any questions, and I'll yield back the floor. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much for that, Chair. Member Carney, I have two more colleagues in the queue at this time. We'll vote after that. We are on amendment number 2. That, and go back to floor, Honorable Eugene So.
Okay. أيوه شيء منطقي the original Afghanistan Afghanistan should reach in history 29,780,000. Water always water budget. IGP, in order for Chile to keep running with all the business, it's needed, that project. Because in Chile, we have business offices, etc. County offices. Most Osmond, Court. I don't know. Because IHS hospital, nursing home. In the college, we got NTU, university. We got a high school, junior high, pre-elementary, and a head start. We got a senior center, we got a nursing home, and we got housing for all those people. And then in the state, 5 housing. And we got NTU, called division in Chile, we got Inta. We got course recreation, fishing, home, land, we got water resource, we got ranger, we got veterinary center, land department, or EPA. We got most of all the division in Chile. And then we got BIA, we got BIE, we got realty, and we got national natural resource. We got census office. On those lines, that's what this water treatment is for. For the main project, B29 nearly takes a chunk of the whole 4 that might be allocated. Because our project chapter projects, also chapter projects, 37 million 941,364. That's what the chapter is asking for. On top of that, the 39,741,458 amounts to 77,685,822. That's how much we need. 77 million to keep Chile business and offices running with that water treatment that we need for all those people that are living in Chile. It's already there. The people are already living there. Everything's all developed. That's how we are in Chile. I don't need 44 million. I need, like I said, 77 million. To keep my Chile chapter, the business and everything, the offices, the state, county, federal government, those things going, I need that much, 77 million. Now, any other chapters need that much what they're investing in. As I heard throughout the day, a lot of chapters don't have projects.
My project's already written in here. All I got was cotton and how much what I need it for. For everything I should go off. I don't know if you can give me that 77 million. And 685,000. And $822. That part of Chinle is the money making tax. Taxes, energy goes to the government. So many percent they come to 9 So that's a money making chapter there. Based on all uses, all goes to other chapters too. That keeps the Navajo Nation government going. And all the chapters. 8 years for Navajo Nation. It's just like the coal mine, Peabody. I'm pretty sure my Virginia is the same way. And so in order to keep that money going, we want 77 million. But I shift directly speaking to all of you. This is as you see it. To next on, that's how much I need. I don't need 44 million. That's way beyond what Cats can give within the next 10 years for all the Navajo Nation to run. We got a lot of people from other churches that are living there, all over Navajo Nation. But our great page still number one. Because I don't you come now with but I do, and I know I'm on the whole out of here empty-handed. But as much as you can give, I guess I can do. I'm kind of without it, so I need that water treatment for my chimney area because our water sometimes comes red or yellow. But we need that clean water for my people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dean. So that we move on down. Chairman Nez, what's yours?
Yeah. And Honorable Speaker Damon, Irishman, staff, division directors, thank you for being here, taking the time to help counsel here. I see the agency president from Eastern here with us, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Detman, when it comes to money, this is our job, it's what we do. We're appropriators. We say this is where we're going to put money, this is where we're going to take money from. And Nisha, one of the things that I was reminded of when I became a delegate is I am like that with this amendment, although we're from Northern Agency, although I call you Shemaya, I still have to be careful with you. I'm sure you're going to be careful with me too, though. But this is the way it goes.
Northern Agency passed a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, a resolution supporting this amendment. And I feel like I have no choice here, but I still think about equal distribution. Is it really equal distribution? The Quran says, I have 6 chapters that I represent. And I'm wondering, I used to done some. I don't know, our people, they want water, they want electricity. Broadband, okay, this amendment here is a goose egg on my broadband here. And we understand there's money available from IHS2. With a lot of wisdom that we can come to this agreement. Perhaps if I sleep tonight, get rested, have a good dinner, and somewhere in my dream, an angel may appear in my dream to me and anoint me with some extra wisdom, like King Solomon. I'm glad you're all laughing. But there's a story in the Bible about Solomon. An angel appeared to him and asked him, what do you want? He says. And Solomon responded and he said, discretion, meaning wisdom. And God told him, since you didn't ask for the life of your enemies, since you didn't ask for riches, since you asked for all these goodies for yourself, that you only ask for wisdom, I'm going to give you a double portion. The Bible says he's the only man that will ever live to have that much wisdom. And I think about that. You possess a certain amount of wisdom, and that's why you're here, 24 of us, to make these decisions, to spend this amount of money, but to do it with wisdom. Some of us will vote red and green on this amendment. We'll go on to Honorable Slater's amendment. Some of us will vote red and green. And somewhere we will finally pass this legislation. Because time is ticking away. Honorable Halona, and that time is ticking, you know. Yesterday I said the chapters they hear the sizzle and they smell the sizzle and they want to know where the beef is at. They hear that sizzle, but they want to know where the beef is so their chapters can be blessed with all of these projects. So, I need to have some assurance on my zeros that there will be some numbers added to those zeros at least 7 more times with a number in front of it, not just zeros. You're concerned about your chapters, I understand that, so am I. Together, we will make this decision. Hopefully tomorrow, we need to make a decision so these monies can be sent out. CJY 4121, Section 8B. It says expenditure plan funds shall not be released to LGA certified chapters, Navajo-owned enterprises, authorities, corporations, nonprofit corporations, and or external entities until a binding agreement has been executed by the Navajo Nation and the respective responsible entity. I'm glad that this law is in place for LGA certified chapters. Which tells me I have 5 LGA certified chapters who have, like they wrote in the resolution at Eastern, chapters are responsible. They know how to spend money. No. And I agree with that. There are chapters out there that wholeheartedly know that they have this fiscal responsibility to be held accountable and to make sure that these monies are spent properly. My vote is still in my heart, trying to struggle with this as to how my chapters will be blessed. And with that, God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. As that, colleagues, we have a little less than 20 minutes left in here. We have to exit the room. We do have 2 more individuals. I don't know if we're going to take a vote this evening or come back. But Honorable Freeland, and we are on Amendment 2. Remember that, colleagues. I'm going to Honorable Freeland and then Chairman Danielson, and I'll go back to Chair McCarthy after that.
Okay, Agashina Shanta, thank you, Chairman Damon. Ado Shanta Kwangi, I almost said Resource and Development Committee. Naabik'íyáti, it must be in the afternoon. Colleague, fellow staff, I just wanted to do the amendment, of course, and I think I'm going out in this battery. But Chantal, just in regards to the electrical side of my area, and the area that represents the 8 chapters, under the to be determined category, and that's a concern for me because I already have $7,551,000 of electrical losses already. Of course, I can take that off of the 44 million,
but then go down really fast when I start adding things up. And then the solar is really important, it's really important. And I think of the very most remote areas around Chaco Canyon especially. And those people out there are people out there that live in Escovada, that live in Quibito, that live North Chaco, very remote areas. And if we can follow, that's a win-win. And for me, right, those 8 chapters, that comes out to 8.5 million of electrical losses under the to be determined category already. And, you know, our area, it's complex. And we don't just deal with NTUA. I wish we did, but we have Continental and we have Haines Mountain. And just looking at my list, once more on the electrical side, under somewhat of the to be determined category, I have White Rock Chap with 2.5 million that they submitted for power line extensions. And, you know, I'm looking at scattered power lines already. White Rock is a very unique community. Time? This is the council? Sees debate? Well, anyway, White Rock is a very unique community. They do follow and trust and checkerboard. But Chantal, my point is that these to be determined categories, I'm already at a loss already. I'm looking at a loss, and it's not going to be easy to reestablish these lists again because I have 8 chapters. And these funds are going to go really, really fast. For me, it's almost like diluting that 44 million immediately. It's a dilution process for me. And, you know, I have to go back and tell the people in Naizi and the people in White Rock what happened. The people in Vicente, what happened. And, you know, for myself, our area in Eastern Navajo is very unique. And I keep telling you and my colleagues that our people out there matter just as much as everywhere else in the Navajo Nation. And just because we have multiple land statuses, then we shouldn't be looked at differently or thought of differently. And, you know, it's not all trust up. 23 different land statuses. That's the hard to deal with. That's the hardest thing to talk. I think I broke the mic. Maybe it's tired of me talking. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I have electrical projects under the to be determined category. And, you know, I think of about 3 or 4 homes right now. And I think of my vice president from Lake Valley. And he lost his son, he's a Vietnam veteran. He lost his son and he's raising his grandsons. And, you know, I think of him. I think of a widow who's waiting for water in Lake Valley. You know, I think of a lot of our people out there that we went to go check on during COVID. And these are real reality. This is real reality, real stories. We shouldn't have to penalize or we shouldn't have to put into the fact that because our people live in scattered and remote areas, they're not going to be given any chance to be given basic infrastructure. That's what's hard for me as a delegate. Like all of you, we love our people. I love our people more than anything. to go out there during COVID, these last 2 years, and to see them at that time and see how afraid they were, and to look into their eyes and just it's a grim reminder. I was telling my sister, Honorable Charles Newton, Lake Valley had a chapter meeting, and there was about 25, 26 people in there. And I always remember because I went to the podium and gave my report, and it was all elders. It was the coolest thing because when I looked at them, they were all had a smile on their face. And that was so warm. It was so, I had to collect myself a few times because of that. But it's because of them, we keep doing what we're doing, especially the elderlies. And, you know, for myself, that's always a moment that I'll never forget. To see those smiles on the elders' faces at the chapter. It was like being home again. It was a homecoming again. So I want to share that as well and just talk a little bit about the to be determined situation that I'm going to be dealing with, the land status as well, and rebuilding our project list, but also working with multiple, not just one, but multiple utility companies as well. 3 utilities we'll be working with. So I wish they, excuse me, 4 for Farmington, I'm sorry, that's 4. But, you know, I just want to put some perspective back in this afternoon's speaker, and, you know, the more I think about it, and I'm already missing Eastern Agency right now. I miss home. I miss our people out there, and I can't wait to get back. So, yes, speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, colleagues. You have Chairman Daniel, so.
Yeah, thank you for the floor and the opportunity to add to the discussion. Colleagues of the Naabik'íyáti committee. I really feel like that recess and the caucus kind of laid down some items that we really need to look at. And myself, I right now leaning toward Chimaya's Honorable Amber Crowdy's amendment. And just to the point that my understanding is some of the numbers in the original 257 that was presented, those numbers are changing as more errors are being discovered. So to the delegates that are going to vote red on Honorable Crowdy's amendment, I would say you need to relook at these numbers that are going to be represented. And I agree with Brother Ricky Nez. I won't be listening or seeing if King Solomon will speak to me. I will be listening more to the aspects of what is good for the people, in the aspects of bringing up their quality of life, water line, power line, broadband. And in those aspects, there is still room for a gathering of the votes, gathering of the mind. Basically, what we're saying with the amendment is
we're not taking away the responsibility of division of community development or into it's just the numbers, the projects. We need better access. I, for myself, have a very rural, 8 chapters, and every aspect because of the land status. We are the prime example of a third world country. And there is, because of that, there is abject poverty. Low opportunities for jobs, and folks that are capable, they go outside of the area to go get jobs. There is a high reliance on food stamps. There is a high reliance on assistance from the federal government in the way of Social Security or from the Division of Social Services. And so those are the aspects of having very limited service multiplied by no water, no electricity. And at future time, we'll talk about roads, bridges, but we'll reserve that aspect for a later time. So in that prospect, I really feel like for the executive branch, the administration, I think they're having to really look at what is going on. And so with that, Speaker, I really feel like there needs to be continuing regrouping. And I would really like to ask for recess until tomorrow morning to give time for Honorable Slater's spreadsheet to be to have the corrections that are so necessary. So with that, Speaker, that would be my comment. And again, colleagues of the Naabik'íyáti committee, I think we are at a very crucial point, and the rest up both the mind and the body and the spirit to come back tomorrow would be a great moment for us to take that time. It's an honorable chair of the Naabik'íyáti committee. That would be my comment in addition to the discussion here. Very much. That, let me go back to the sponsor. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. I appreciate Delegate or Chairman Freeland. I thank you for your comments. And I just want to, let's see. Thank you, Chairman So and Chairman Nez for your comments in terms of the equal distribution and how to move forward. I respect that Delegate Slater is pulling together his amendment, but I think in speaking with Delegate Slater, he had advised to move forward with this vote And then when he has his amendment, he'll move forward. So I want to thank Chairman So for that vote. But I think it's critical in our discussion is, are the delegates looking to provide some equality in terms of the distribution of the funding? And so I think at this point, all of the questions regarding the amendment were answered, and Chairman Nez, and that's why this is not an exhibit, colleagues. This is a visual representation of the amendment. The amendment states you are going to be working with all of the different entities to develop priorities for your region of 44,595,786. These shaded areas of projects, you would be working with your communities and your people to make sure these are projects that are prioritized. Right now, these are the projects that were submitted by executive. And so I want to state with this amendment is also integrity, where there'll be full transparency, and embedded in this amendment, as asked by Chairman Freeland, there is the directive to the Navajo Nation Fiscal Recovery Office to help each delegate submit the proposals and be vetted by DOJ so that they are considered eligible. And in this amendment, there is also other provisions that comply with CJY 41-21. And so this is a way for, just like as the executive team pulled together their funding and their projects, as delegates and legislative, we're pulling together our numbers and our projects. And so you are not bounded to these shaded projects. You are not bound by these projects. This amendment sets you free to work with your community, to work with the project. Look at the portal. There's a great section here that has all of the projects that were submitted to the portal. And it has check marks on what projects were funded by this legislation as is, what could possibly be funded, what's in the IHS SDS listing, what's in the proposed legislation 0209-21, the defunded CARES, CEJASEN. So this is a great highlight, and I appreciate the staff who made that. So this is how you can be building up and moving forward with projects that are ready, or then identifying projects that would still need to be vetted by DOJ. So Speaker, with that in mind, if I may ask Chairman, so if you can reconsider your request so that we could move forward with the vote on this amendment as is, and see then how we can move forward with delegates later in those other amendments that he's approved, because he's here, so he's still working on his amendment. So that's what I wanted to ask, so we can move on to the vote. I believe I've asked all the questions from my colleagues. Thank you, Speaker.
Very much, colleagues. There's a request to go to a vote, but I do have Honorable Vice Chair Smith, Honorable Chairman Yazzie, and Honorable Nate Brown in the queue. Are you willing to waive your time? Okay, Honorable Vice Chair Smith. You have 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. And then after that, we're going to. No, we have to leave out of here by 5 o'clock.
Speaker, question of privilege.
Yes, question of privilege.
Really quick, Speaker. When we are in Winterup, we in our meetings for staff. But as of today, last night, we lodged it. And I don't see why we can't go until midnight. I thought that was the reason why we have our nominee. Now we have to be at 5. That's a big concern. Just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just in the contract, Honorable James.
Yeah.
Honorable Vice Chair Smith, you have 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
5 minutes, come on. Thank you, Chairman Damon, Naabik'íyáti committee members and staff, and those that are here with us, I just appreciate your presence and our staff from Navajo Nation, those that are visiting with us this afternoon, those that are listening. I have a question, and looking at your amendment, I finally found it. It states on number 2, delete amendment number 1 in its entirety. So what shouldn't I did on amendment 1 requested for 20 million? Is that what we're deleting in entirety? Because this is amendment 2. Amendment 2 is what we have here in front of us as listed for each of our delegations, territory, or however you want to put it. I see that on this form. And if that's going to be deleted as the entirety, that means 20 million is going to be available. Is that how I read this on this amendment? And then it says on page 1, line 14, after fund, insert regional chapter projects. Is that the correct term, regional chapter projects? Or are we talking about 24 districts? I've never heard of a regional chapter. Is that proper, or is that going to bind us to saying, what's your region? You know how there's Nazi grammar people out there that will say, you're out of your region. And the other one too is in here, it says that to that end, on page 5 of 24, underline new language, to that end, the Navajo Nation Council adopted resolution CD 6221, providing 557 billion in hardship assistance and for Navajo members to mitigate financial devastation caused by COVID-19 pandemic. The President signed that into law by January. Well, why do we need that language in there? Is that because we already did that? It's been passed with that I was looking at it here. I don't have it with me right on hand. It was passed during December of 2021. And the other question I have is this total amount, $44,595,786. How do we work with the, I know that in here with the previous one that was, I guess they were trying to entertain, it had housing projects. And in there was divided into the 0257 at 100 million. There was 40 million to CDC, I think, and then 10 million for housing renovation, and then 50 million to the veterans. I think we should keep the veterans in there because the veterans asked and said, we're not getting anything. I said, wait a minute. In 025721, there is a provision in there. And if we take that out, we're not actually earmarking any money for our veterans. They need help out there. I talked to Mr. Z the other day and I said, how many houses have been built? He says, there's one that's been built out west. We're building one up north and we're starting to slowly build, but we don't have the capability of building as quick as we would like to. So the reason why I'm questioning Amendment 2 is I'd like to see it still with 0257 in there saying that this will be earmarked at this amount in renovation, because folks need renovation. Winds are blowing. The houses that we have with shingles, they're flying off, and shingles are expensive. And when it rains on it, of course, the plyboard and plywood underneath it will bubble up, and then you have to replace that. And the plyboard is almost $60 a board now. I mean, goodness gracious. It used to be only $17, maybe $18. Now it's up to $60. So this is what
I'd like to keep in there somehow, making sure that the housing is earmarked. And the other one too, I talked to IHS about this, bathroom additions. Bathroom additions, we just need a shell. They've got schematics, they've got the drawing. All you do is just put that shell against the existing house. And then IHS pays for all the labor, materials. And could we shave some of those costs down and utilize that other cost for something else, maybe additional housing? Because we need folks out there saying, sure, not that. And they're finally getting home site lease after 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 years. And they're excited about this ARPA funds, and they're wanting to at least maybe get they don't need they're not asking for a mansion. They're asking for something that'll cover them, keep them warm, keep them safe, keep them cool in the summer, somewhere to bed down, and somewhere to feel and say, Ishagan. Whether it's a whole one Muslim or whether it's a kin, they would be happy with that. So those are my comments and questions on this legislation. I think if we take out the entirety of number 1, is that okay with our delegate from Oak Springs who said we need 20 million for decontamination or something like that? That was Amendment 1 on that behalf. So thank you, Chairman Damon, and those that are listening. Those are my concerns. I'd rather just stick with what is on 0257 as it is, and it can be tweaked according to the law if we need to change it. I think we can work with this as it is right now. If we start trying to give it to the chapters, they've got that 50-50 formula, and that's going to be a big bind. So thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Smith. With that, colleagues, time now is 5:03 p.m. And Chair McCarty, if you want to give a response now, or if you want to wait till morning.
I'd like to ask for the vote, Speaker.
Madam Chair McCarty, there was a vote to take. I have Honorable Chairman Yazzie, and this is Naabik'íyáti Committee, and I have Honorable Nathaniel Brown. Chairman Yazzie, would you want to waive your time?
Speaker and members of the council, just real quick, and then, wait the rest of my time on the amendment. Just a lot of questions, comments that were brought up, and
You'll be first in the queue tomorrow. Okay, with that.
Okay, Speaker.
Okay.
Council.
And there's onward, that's I have 5 individuals that want to continue to speak, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. I thought with the listing you had put your hands up and move your diaphragm. Oh, yeah.
Everybody?
Yeah. I've done it with you, Speaker. I saved your life.
Yeah, I know you did. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Speaker. As we wind down. Thank you, Speaker. And so I appreciate Delegate Vice Chair Smith. So if you could look to the amendment on page 205, it does provide some information on the purpose of the plans as a delegate region. It shall meet all the Navajo Nation chapters, both LJ certified and non-LJ chapters, and townships that are represented by the Navajo Nation Council. Each council delegate shall select fiscal recovery fund eligible projects in their delegate region to be funded through NNFRF regional chapter project expenditure plan, and it shall not exceed $44,595,786. This is on the amendment, colleagues. So then going down to page 3, new letter E, delegates may select projects from the regional chapter expenditure plan from the list of projects that were submitted by the President's office and his leadership team that have already been submitted to DOJ for eligibility determination and are not included in another NNFRF expenditure plan. Delegates may also select projects that have not previously been submitted to Navajo Nation DOJ for an initial eligibility determination as long as such projects have received an initial eligibility determination prior to being included on the respective regional chapter project expenditure plan. In terms of housing and veterans, I respect your opinion that you like the original legislation. What I need to point out, Chair, Vice Chair, is in the original legislation, you're on the lower tier of allocation, and your district out of $1 billion legislation is getting $5.7 million. And so you stand to receive the opportunity to work with your chapter in this equity just distribution for $38.8 million. And you could use that all for housing needs, which includes your veterans. But that's going to be a determination, and rather than the original legislation that had a set number of bathroom additions that are to be determined, a very ambiguous housing plan, which according to the division director is roughly $350,000 per chapter, and then your other funds. So I think as delegates, please look at the numbers, and if you're satisfied with the legislation and you have that support, I'm not here to talk you out of an opportunity to provide more to your communities. That's not my role. My role is to look at the numbers and say there's opportunity here to add more. And I know for a fact more broadband projects can go into Delegate Nez's region because we've been working with the schools. I just talked to them earlier today, and they gave me the number of students that are struggling because they don't have access to broadband. And so I can just imagine how many more projects you can add on here, how many partnerships, what you can do to leverage your dollars and really give you that opportunity with that technical support. So thank you, Speaker, and I'll be ready for any additional questions or colleagues. If you could let me know what your questions are now, and then we can provide those answers for you as we set to start tomorrow. I was planning to also be a part of the discussion here at Twin Arrows with our federal and state partners regarding our missing and murdered Indigenous people. We're putting together a comprehensive tribal response plan, but this is my priority, and so I will continue to advocate on this amendment. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, colleagues. With that, just as a recap, we are on legislation 0257-21, amendment number 2. Tomorrow morning, we come back in at 9 o'clock. What is it again? 9 o'clock Flagstaff time, 10 o'clock Res time, Window Rock time. Here tomorrow morning, colleagues. That we're going into recess. Time is 5:09 p.m. Thank you, colleagues. Safe travels. Thank you to everyone that was here listening in today. All the staffers, enterprises, IHS, external entities. Thank you very much. Colleagues, thank you again for being here today. Colleagues, want to leave your books and stuff.